to another episode of Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo Sports Talk and more. My name is Patrick Moran. Thank you so much for watching, for listening, however you are consuming this podcast. I do appreciate you very, very much. A big shout out to both of our sponsors, Sunny Reds, 1841 Aber Road, just down the way from Highmark Stadium. And, of course, Imperial Pizza with two locations, Main Street near Canisius College, and also in the heart of South Buffalo at 1035 Abbott Road. Appreciate you guys very much. They support the show. Make sure you get out there and support Sunny Reds and Imperial Pizza. All right, this on the podcast side is our normal Thursday episode. On the video side, we are actually live. We're live late on a Wednesday night. We're going to talk some Sabres, some Bills, the Buffalo Sabres, the offensive juggernaut, Buffalo Sabres. What a turnaround that was mid-game. They put it on Ottawa 8-4 tonight. We're going to talk some live instant reactions. Before I get into today's episode, I want to let you know about tomorrow's episode. I'm actually going to be live, Cheektowaga Country Club, 4717 Genesee Street in Cheektowaga. It's literally like 3 or 4 minutes past the airport on Genesee. I'm going to be joined by Matt Perino, Buffalo Bills beat reporter. We're going to have some food. We're going to do a live show at 8 p.m. I've never been there before. I'm looking forward to it. I've heard a lot of good things about the place. Putt-putt, vintage video arcade. So that should be a really good time. But that's tomorrow. As for today, like I said, on the video side, anyway, we are live, and I'm joined by my good buddy from the Buffalo Sports Collective, PK. What's up, buddy, man? How you doing?
Yeah, I came home from a 2-0 defeat in soccer, thought I was going to watch another defeat on the ice, and then what the heck did we see in that second 30 minutes? Holy crap, where did that come from?
I don't know, man. I was expecting this to be a very gloomy episode. I'm not going to lie. It will be later on because we are going to talk some Buffalo Bills. We will definitely get to some Bills. But, you know, I've been saying this for a while, PK. When I get the opportunity, especially midweek, and this is why I tell people all the time, even if you are subscribed on the audio side, if you want to catch some live shows, make sure that you're subscribed on YouTube because when I get a chance, I'm going to have some live reaction shows as often as I can immediately after Sabres games. And we're picking a real good one here to hit on tonight. Like I said, an 8-4 victory for the Buffalo Sabres. Before we talk about the game, do you feel, because I did, coming into this game, that potentially after starting 0-3, and as bad as this franchise has been and some of the bad starts that they've had, they've never actually started 0-4 without getting a point ever in the history of the franchise to start this season. It's a home game. Ottawa confidence is at an all-time low, or at least so it seems. Were you going into this game thinking if the Sabres lost, and maybe depending on the circumstance of the Sabres loss, that we could have been waking up Thursday, for people listening to this, waking up today to some changes? And by changes, I mean potentially a head coach and or a general manager. Did you feel that there was pressure on this team to come through, or was it just going to be more of the same regardless to you?
Personally, I thought it was going to be the same regardless of the outcome. I mean, even if they get blown off the ice, I really didn't see a change coming. I think if there was going to be a change, it probably would have been later in October. I really didn't see it happening unless somehow you had the words to Kevin Adams like, hey, this needs to get turned around. And his last scapegoat was to fire Lindy Ruff and bring in another Joe, maybe put, Seth Appert behind the bench as the head coach for one last desperation. But I really didn't see any change coming. But I do think that this big victory bought them a bit more time by saying, hey, all we needed, this is the game to get everybody going. But I honestly, I really didn't see much change coming, win or loss in this one.
I am going to be completely honest with you, PK. I am going to be completely honest with all the people who tune into this show. It's not going to be a popular thing to say, at least in some circles, I feel like, especially for the diehards, the ride or dies, because there are, believe it or not, There's still plenty of die or ride or die Buffalo Sabres fans out there. And for the record, so we're clear, I respect you to the end of the earth if that's who you are right now. I mean zero, and I mean zero disrespect by saying this. But I'm going to be honest with you and everyone else. I wanted the Sabres to lose tonight. I put on Facebook that I think I would have to go back to the Columbus game in 2015 where they basically clinched the McDavid, Jack Eichel sweepstakes with that loss. The last time I can remember wanting a Sabres team to lose.
Atkinson?
As badly. Yeah, it was the Atkinson goal. Yep. Cam Atkinson scored the Jack Eichel clinching goal in that game, and thousands of people. I think I'm in the majority there where people wanted the Sabres to lose. This game right here, I'm of the mindset, and it was a great game, and we're going to talk about it. I mean, there's some good stories to come out of this game. It's not even just a win. There's some good individual stories that definitely deserve some shine, and we're going to talk about that before we get into some Bill stuff for sure. But my mindset is change needs to happen. This is just an organization. It looked great tonight. More on that in a second, too. But I'm ready for change. They need to have it. Kevin Adams has to go. All right? Kevin Adams has to go. This game doesn't change anything. I still feel on some levels Lindy Ruff is to a point maybe checked out. Maybe not checked out. Resigned might be a better word than saying checked out. Checked out means you don't care anymore. I still think Lindy Ruff cares. I just think he's resigned to being behind the bench of a team that's not very good. So my mindset is let's just get it over with. I mean, coming into this, you saw the National Insiders, 32 Thoughts podcast. Everybody's talking shit about the Sabres. It's a pity organization right now. Do you agree with that from what you've been seeing? Like, this has been almost like when you talk about the Sabres, it's almost in a griefing kind of stage. And I'm not even talking about Sabres fans. I'm just talking about the national media. It's just everybody's piling on this team because I think everybody knows that there needs to be change.
Yeah, 100%. They're the punching bag of the league. They've been a punching bag of the league for the last few years, but it seems like it's doubled down even earlier this year. I mean, our podcast came out today. I already buried them before this game even started, so I buried them after 3 games in. But I feel like I do agree with you. I believe there needs to be change. I do not think Kevin Adams is the right one in charge. I not completely shocked he was back this year just based on the track record of this team. But I will say this game was very interesting, not, tuning out the first 3 games whatsoever, because I think with the Carolina game, they actually played well and still got the doors blown off. But this one, I am leaving the door tiny bit cracked that maybe they got the monkey off their back and can make games at least interesting. I can't see them fair. Making the playoffs, but at least they can start toning down the narrative around the league, and maybe that can hush for a little bit longer after an 8-goal explosion here. But 100%, I mean, around the hockey world, and even if you're not a hockey fan, you've been hearing whispers on this team for God knows how long, but it's just accelerated after their 0-3 start that they're piling on early and much earlier. I mean, you're hearing the whispers of, if Tuck doesn't sign, does that mean he's going to go to Edmonton in the offseason? And then does Tage follow because he doesn't want to do a new rebuild? And then it was the whispers of Darlene. So, it's October 15th and we're already hearing whispers of it. Hopefully, maybe this tones it down a bit. But, we've said it on our show. We're trying to find new and creative ways to even talk about the Sabres rather than just be doom and gloom all the time, because I don't want to talk about it. Nobody wants to listen to it. But yeah, it hit the Sabres really early. Maybe this tones it down a bit.
Can I say something about this game specifically too? I'd be remiss if I didn't say this. And God, I understand. 5 minutes ago, I just apologized to the ride or diers, out there. Now I'm going to apologize to people who just want to take a deep breath, smile, and enjoy this victory. I'd be remiss though if I didn't say that goaltender for Ottawa, Levi Marilainen, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. And if I got it wrong, he doesn't deserve for me to know what his last name, how it's pronounced. That dude, I use a term now on Twitter because I like to act like I'm a teenager again. Booty cheeks.
Yep.
Booty cheeks. He was booty cheeks. I said it on Twitter. I'll say it on the show. That dude looked like he belonged in a bear league at freaking Leisure Rink around the corner from me here in Orchard Park. He was awful, which, hey, Alex Lyon, and we'll talk about him. He looked really good. Sometimes you can give up 4 goals and still look good. Now, Ottawa got 2 goals early in the third. It was bam, bam. But especially in the first half of that game where the Sabres couldn't get anything going, Alex Lyon kept them in the game. Conversely, one moment kind of flipped the game for the Sabres in their favor. So they're down 2-1, disputed goal. Lindy Ruff challenges it, which I don't know why he did, but he did. And Ottawa goes on the power play. You're like, oh, great. It's about to be 3-1. Here we go. The doors are about to come off. And Ryan McLeod scores a goal. I believe it was Benson. It was Benson on the play, too, on the rush, too. Beautiful play. Benson had a great game. We'll talk about him. But McLeod scores a shorthanded goal, and then the floodgates open. The Sabres scored 4 goals unanswered in the second period in just under 7 minutes after being down 2-1. One of them a shorthanded goal by McLeod, and then that unstoppable power play the Buffalo Sabres have kicks in. Quinn scored, sort of, in the first period, and Zucker scored 2 goals on the power play. So the special teams is a thing, and bam, just like that, the Sabres are up 5-2. It's party time. Ottawa comes back, gets 2 quick ones. I'm like, uh-oh, here we go. Here we go. That will get you fired. Blowing a 3-goal lead at home to Ottawa in the third period will get your ass fired. But then that goalie played like, again, like he should have been he was drinking beers and playing at Leisure Rinks because bam, bam, Sabres scored 2 quickies and it was over again. But that was some really shitty goaltending from Ottawa. You got to call that out. If that was the Sabres goaltender, we'd be ripping him. So let's rip this out of a goalie a little bit. He let in some shitty goals.
I would also love for everybody to send their love and praise to me because it was 2-1 when I got home. They had 4 shots on net, and I got home, turned on the game, sitting in the living room, and that's when the onslaught started happening. So I'll take full credit for what the Sabres were able to do tonight. But yeah, 100%. Their goalie definitely did not look well, but also I'll credit the Buffalo Sabres. They're capitalized finally on a backup goalie. For years and years, other teams would toss in their backup goalies because they're like, we're going against the Buffalo Sabres, and Sabres could never do anything against them. So yes, like you said, booty cheeks of the goaltender in net cheeks for Ottawa, but I will hand it to the Buffalo Sabres. They were able to capitalize and it didn't slow down. They kept it up. Even when Ottawa scored those 2 goals right in the third period, you're going, okay, same Sabres are going to blow this lead. And then they come right back down and McLeod scores. And yes, it's only a 1 game, but I've been saying it for 14 years now. Just make the games entertaining, win or loss. This was a very entertaining game. I will take it and run to the hills with this one because this was a fun game to watch.
You should. And I'll give the Sabres credit for this too. They absolutely got a sense of urgency going. It was 18-4 shots at one time in favor of Ottawa. Matter of fact, the Sabres did not have a single 5-on-5 shot on goal in the first period. They scored a goal. Jack Quinn misses by 3 feet. It goes, again, back off booty cheeks, or now in the live chat they're saying buns too, so I guess I can call him buns. The buns goalie, and it went in the net. But there was definitely a sense of urgency. And hey, guess what, BK and Sabres fans? When you start playing well, guess what happens? The crowd gets into the game, and you know what happens when they do that? You get energized. It matters. The crowd got. When's the last time? Well, they played actually well at home last year late, so I can't say that. But early on this season, it's just been a very lethargic, dull feeling in that arena. But you could sense that a little bit. Getting into the crowd, they were into it. Usually I would cut off the game. We're getting ready for this live show. I actually wanted to watch the last 20 seconds because I wanted to hear the cheers from the KeyBank Center crowd, and it was pretty spot on, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, I was at opening night. The crowd felt like they wanted to explode, and the team just was a no-show for the first 20 minutes.
Yeah.
The fans that show up to those games are still dialed in and ready to explode, and you saw that tonight. The product on the ice just got to give them something to cheer for. if you give them something to cheer for, even if it's a 1-0 game and you're out there hustling around and actually performing to the expectations that are on the ice, or even at a normal hockey level, the crowd's going to react to that. And it does feed to the players. And you saw that happen. As soon as McLeod scored that one to get it 6-4, to get that 2-goal lead again, the crowd started getting back into it. And that's what fed to the Quinn goal. I'm not a big believer in, momentum and all that kind of stuff, but the players will feed off the energy in the arena, especially KeyBank Center, because there is, to me, nothing like KeyBank Center when it is actually bumping. We just haven't seen it in years and years and years, but the fans there are ready to do it. I know there was a bunch of empty seats from what I saw at the end there, but hats off to the fans that were there. The last 20 seconds, I'm very happy that Dan just let the crowd have the last 20 seconds, because they actually deserve that one.
And they deserve it. Most of those people didn't pay very much money to be there.
Yeah.
I personally know about at least a half a dozen people who went to that game who paid $15
right?
or less.
Yeah.
$15 or less for some pretty good seats. I got a buddy, a friend of mine who was texting me a couple times during the game. He got in there for $11. Now he paid $18 for a Sunrise, a Sunshine, or whatever the hell that seltzer beer is called.
A Sandbagger, I think it's called.
Yeah, he paid, and then $20 Jack and Coke. So he spent $38 on 2 drinks, the idiot. But he got into the game for like $11. So that's pretty cool. I'll tell you what, if you start playing like this, I mean, maybe those tickets aren't gonna, be $20 or less. I want to talk about a couple players, but let's go back to the goaltending, because, and I'm not being, I'm being funny and sarcastic about naming the booty cheeks with the goalie, but he really seriously was terrible. He just wasn't making saves. It reminded me a lot of UPL at times last year. Maybe not quite to that extent, but it felt like Ottawa was outplaying Buffalo for a nice chunk of that game. But just like last year, where you needed UPL to make a save and he wouldn't do it. That was the Ottawa side. The Buffalo side, don't look at the 4 goals allowed. I feel like Alex Lyon, if there's been a major plus to come out of these first 4 games combined, even though they've only won 1, I kind of feel like, I'm not going to say a Ryan Miller or Dominic Hasek kind of, cowbell or bell cow number 1 goalie, but I feel like they got their guy right now. Alex Lyon, to me, has looked impressive. Now, when UPL's back, I don't think he's going to be playing 4 or 5 in a row before UPL gets in here and there. But I see a scenario where Alex Lyon, I think, might be wrestling away some of the primary playing time, and I think he's earning it right now so far. I think he's been really, really good to start this season.
I think he's been their best player by far, and
sure,
I don't think he's been fantastic. I mean, he's not blowing the doors off, making unbelievable saves, but he's being that consistent goaltender back there that's not giving up the easy one, that's making the timely saves, that's keeping you in it. You mentioned in the first period in this game, it could have gotten away from them, but he was making those timely saves. That's what this team has needed for a while, is just a steady goaltender back there that can do well and can make those timely saves to keep the team in it. I thought Lyon played extremely well tonight. It discouraged, don't even worry about the 4 goals. That 4th one that Ottawa scored, that's completely not on him. That defense was just, there's 3 guys to the corner, left somebody wide open. But I think he has been their best player through 4 games. Again, like you said, with UPL, when he does come back, it's probably not going to be 4 or 5 straight. But I think it's Lyon's crease until proven otherwise. If UPL comes out and gets a start and shut out and they win 3-0 and he's playing unbelievable, sure, he earns another one. But to me right now, this is Lyon's crease until I see otherwise.
And, all those 4 goals, like you said, the 4th one I would throw away. The 3rd one could have made the save. But the first one, Byram let the guy get behind him. That's on Byram. And then the second one was the big scrum in front of the net where eventually, it got put in. Clear somebody out. I don't put that on him as well. So, another good game for Lyon. Now, look, McLeod scores 2. Jack Quinn scores 2. Jason Zucker scores 2. That's all great and good games for all of them. But the 2 guys that I think impressed me the most, the 2 skaters that impressed me the most, each had 3 assists on the night, and they just, boy, oh boy, man, that Josh Stone, I am impressed with him. Early on, I kept, hearing people say, I really like this kid. He's got spunk. I'm like, whatever, man. It's Kesselring. And then this guy was, I don't want to say a throw-in, but, the secondary piece. And maybe that's true on some levels, but he don't look like that right now. He's a top 9 guy, and I'm like, he's playing on the top line. Well, he earned that. He looks like he belonged there. At least on this day, you said you think he's been the most consistently good skater so far for this team. He set up a lot of shit tonight. I mean, he had a really good game. And we'll get to Benson in a second, but Josh Stone, if you're looking for something to hang your hat on right now, Sabres fans, on some good young players with upside, look no further than Doan, because he certainly looks the part right now.
Yeah, I'll give credit to all the people that know hockey and Sabres way more than I do. They were talking about him after this trade as well. Not somebody that can play in the top two lines or anything like that, but it was a consistent piece that it was like, okay, you can't forget he was a part of the deal. And he
Sure.
proved it tonight. He was fantastic. I mean, the battles along the boards, he's that quiet assassin on the ice where I think if he's put on the right line with players that can finish and score, he's going to thrive on this line because he's in that dirty areas. He's battling along the boards that some players just don't want to do. And we're going to talk about him in a minute, but it's kind of like you got two Zach Bensons on the ice. You got two Josh Doans on the ice right now. You need those type of players for a team like this, especially when you lose a JJ Peterka in his scoring presence. If you add a player like Josh Doan and he continues to compete like this and continues to win against the boards like that, you're not going to need a Tage Thompson or an Alex Tuch to go along those boards. You got the guy to do it, free up the puck, and then it frees up the goal scorers to do what they got to do.
Yeah, and they played together with Tage. Oh, no, hold on. No, it was Tuch, Thompson, and Tage, right? Or no, Benson on the first line. My bad. I got
Benson,
the line screwed up.
Kulich,
they were on the ice.
Yeah.
Kulich was on the fourth line. He got demoted. We'll talk about that in a second. But anyway, so yeah, Doan was great. And again, Zach Benson, I seen a lot of bickering on Twitter leading up to this game.
Oh,
like he's not going to mean all that much. He's not an offensive guy, point guy. Well, had 3 assists tonight, and again, this team looked a hell of a lot different now. Maybe in part it's the opponent, and part it's the goaltender that they went up against. But he looked like a factor, and it was quite obvious that this team they definitely missed him the first 3 games. This was a different Sabres lineup on both sides, offense and defense, with Zach Benson in.
Yeah, don't hear what we're not saying. It's one game. There's still a lot more to get fixed and figured out. But when you win 8-4, you got to take the positives with it. But yeah, Zach Benson, he was a missing piece the first 3 games. I just wish that he was 3 inches taller. If he was 3 inches taller, imagine the type of player he was, because he's not afraid of anything. You see this face, and I know that took a puck, but he wanted to be back in the lineup that same day when he was in the hospital. He's just a different breed of player that they haven't had in this lineup for a long, long time. And he's sitting 5'8". He's 20 years old. It's ridiculous the type of player he is. Again, just like Doan, if he can be put on a line with goal scorers, I could see him putting up 35 to 40 assists in this. He's probably never going to be a big time goal scorer. That's fine. But it's a niche role that they really do not have, other than, now Doan, that is willing to go into those dirty areas, that's willing to battle on the boards. I've never seen a player like that can stand off bigger players behind him and win the battles low along the boards. I do think that the Sabres desperately missed him in the first 3 games. Yes, explosion of 8 goals is not going to happen every night, but his presence in the lineup, I think in the long run, I don't see you're going to see him put up ungodly numbers in the box score. He's not going to put up 3 assists, 2 assists every single night, but the things that he's going to be doing on the ice are not going to be reflective in the box score. And I think if people are just, box score looking, they're not going to really truly appreciate the type of player that Zach Benson currently is and can take that next step and become.
So we're recording this again on the video side. We're streaming this live. So we're actually on the air instead. Normally I'd be listening to all the locker room scrum stuff and Lindy Ruff speaking, try to catch a little bit here and there while we're talking. Lindy Ruff said tonight might've been his night on Josh Doan. He's talking about, meaning his night, meaning he just took that next step and became a significantly more important player on this team. And I'll tell you, this is why sometimes it pays to not tweet too fast, because I literally, and I mean literally, was getting ready to say, where's Ryan McLeod this year? This guy looked really good last year, looked like he belonged up a line. He gets a nice little contract in the offseason, and he gets off to a really, really slow start. And tonight, did they ever need somebody to step up? Because listen, it was 2-1 Ottawa. Ottawa's going back on the power play. You're like, if they score again, it's 3-1. The Sabres had scored 2 goals in 3 games coming in. you're like, it's probably over, and this team's staring at 0-4 in the face. But McLeod scored a big, big goal, and then he added another one, too, as well. And like I said, Zucker on the power play, these complimentary guys, Zucker, McLeod, these middle line guys, they really need them to step up, and they did tonight.
Yeah, 100%. When you lose a JJ Peterka in the lineup and he's not really replaced by anybody, you need the secondary scoring. I was very hesitant, and I think I'm on record on your show or our show or whatever, to bring back a Jason Zucker, just because they've done this in the past and the players never really loved up to it. Yes, it's 4 games in, but he's sitting with 3 goals right now. If he can repeat the type of performance that he did last year, that's part of the JJ Peterka missing piece. If Josh Doan starts pumping in some goals and Zach Benson scores a little bit more than he has in the past, I think you can make up that difference in JJ Peterka. But the one negative, and I don't know if you've brought it up or whatever, Tage Thompson is very confusing to me. He just doesn't, again, I'm not critiquing, I'm not on the ice, I don't know his play style or whatever. He just almost looks lazy on the ice at times, where he's just skating around. And I focused on him the one time, the puck was in the defensive end the entire time, and he's just very lackadaisical. And I know Buffalo's known to just pick on some of the star players and everything like that, but it's just, if you're wearing the A on your sweater, I feel like you got to start doing a little bit more than just the slap shot right now. I think you got to put in more time in the defensive end. You see Josh Doan running all over the ice with him. It just, to me, his skating style or his play style, to me, just comes off lazy at times. And again, maybe that's just his style. That's just what it comes off to me. I guess that's the one negative I came away with this one.
I went at it with Sabres fans the other night. Who did they just play?
Carolina?
Yeah. Colorado.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Colorado on Monday.
I don't know why
Colorado on Monday. I said, Tage is really talented, but he looks lazy sometimes. And he does. But you know what? If he's a diva goal scorer, if you're going to score 40, you could be a little bit lazy too. You could tell that Doan and Benson are just Lindy rough guys. Like, it's not taking long for Doan to be a Lindy rough guy. And quite frankly, I'm looking up another stat here in real time. Maybe the key to the Sabres drought ending is playing Ottawa more than 3 times. Because, they just... The Sabres have now beaten the Senators 5 straight games, and they've won 8 of their last 10, and the Sabres have scored 43 goals in those 10 games. So the Sabres are averaging 4.3 goals per game in their last 10 against the Ottawa Senators, man. Isn't it wild sometimes, just in sports, not even just hockey, just in sports, how you just have, like the Bills do with Miami, you know what I mean? Or like Miami did with the Bills in the 70s. You always have their number. If it's a good team, a bad team, no matter what it is, but you have a team's number, and that's the Sabres have Ottawa's number. They don't have Montreal's number, the Sabres, because they can't beat them to save their lives, but they seem to have Ottawa's numbers. So I don't know, man. It's just pretty wild to me. One last thing I want to ask you about. And again, a lot of positive things to talk about, and I know there's players. Again, we're just doing this right now in real time, glossing over. Jack Quinn, 2 goals. I don't care how he scored that first goal. He needs to be a goal scorer on this team. If he's not scoring goals, he's utterly useless to this team. So for him to have 2 goals is good. I know it was a couple points from who? Yeah, Darlene had 2 assists. Owen Power was a +2 in this game. Byram had an assist, and he was a +1. I pretty much mentioned everybody else. Tage had 2 assists. All right, well, that's right. He did set up that last one. The one issue I have, and I guess I get it, is Yuri Kulik. So Lindy was clearly pissed at him over the Colorado game, and at practice on Tuesday, he was on the 5th line. Didn't think he was going to play. Put him into the lineup here, kind of like last minute today, but he skated on that 4th line with Kozak and Malenstein, and I freaking hate that shit. Now, he did score the empty netter, so maybe that'll get his mind right or something, but they had Krebs up there on that 3rd line. I really hope, PK, that's very temporary. This guy was your number 1 center down the stretch last year. Josh Norris is going to be out until you and I are retired from podcasting, probably. So I need Yuri Kulik to be a good player. I guess maybe Lindy sends him a message and it works, then everybody's happy. But I don't like that shit. That's my one negative about this team and tonight.
Maybe it's just me. I I understand Kulik's on this team to be an offensive player. I thought he was back checking very well in the first 3 games. Like I noticed him hustling his butt back to get back and break up some, 2-on-1s, 3-on-1s. But I understand that maybe the message is I need more from you on the offensive side of the ice, but defensively, you could have had another Jeff Skinner skating around back there where he's just useless on half the ice. But I thought him back checking. That's the one thing that confused me is the punishment aspect, or if you want to put it in quotes, the punishment aspect of what he did to Cooley, because I as far as his overall game, yeah, his offensive numbers weren't there and he wasn't putting, points up on the board, but they scored 2 goals. Like you can't just pick one player out of it. I thought he was hustling. If anybody should have been punished for the first 3 games, it should have been Jack Quinn. He was non-existent the first 3 games. So that's what made no sense to me. And I believe I overheard Lindy Ruff say that it's not just him. It could have been a number of other players. That's the thing, though. You just selected one player out. Maybe this is what gets him going, sure, but I really didn't hate his game the first 3 games. Maybe it's just something I'm not seeing, but I just didn't see it.
We're on the same page, and maybe that's why I was really annoyed that it felt like he was the one that was being singled out. One last thing, then we'll take a break, come back, talk some Bills. If you want to put on the optimistic hat and say, all right, well, yeah, this is one game, let's build. You could look at the roster. Jordan Greenway's close to being back. He's back on the ice. He's practicing. Matthias Samuelsson, I think you know how I feel about him. But you know what? He's probably at least an upgrade over Johnson, all right? I mean, I'll give Samuelsson that much. UPL's back to practice because you can't expect Lyon to keep playing every night. So hopefully you can get some starting caliber goaltending even when Lyon is not playing, although I think Lyon is now the guy for now at least anyway. And then I'm not sure about Kesselring, but hopefully he's working his way back pretty soon. Some reinforcements are coming. I was ready to, I'm not going to lie to you. Well, I was ready to throw in the towel before the season, but I was especially ready to throw it in when Josh Norris got hurt on a faceoff on the opener. I mean, that was just absolutely ridiculous. And it's still, if I get going on it, I'll get really fired up on the show live because to not have an alternative plan for that and the bank on somebody like him staying healthy was just absurd. But anyway, none you can do about him. My point is you do have some reinforcements coming. So this lineup should get better on paper over the next handful of days. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%. The player that I'm most interested in seeing is Kesselring because he was the big piece they brought over to help Owen Power and get him unlocked because that pushes everybody else down in the lineup. I know he doesn't have the offensive abilities and the offensive, pedigree that might help the puck going in the back of the net, but I'm just interested to see what that does to an Owen Power on the second line that, this was supposed to be the player that was coming in and then he got hurt and you didn't really see it yet. That's the one piece that I'm really excited about. And maybe that transitions to, okay, the puck's not in their end as much. So that helps them get the puck in the offensive end and pump in more goals. But yeah, besides, Greenway, he's probably going to be in the lineup for 10 games and then he's out of it again. But Kesselring is the piece that I'm excited to see actually.
Me too. And all right. So a good Buffalo Sabres 8-4 victory over Ottawa, a desperately needed one, 4 goals in the second period. They find their offense. The penalty kill's been good all year, actually.
Yeah.
They find their power play, 3 power play goals. Hopefully this could be a sign of things to come. The analytic dorks out there before the season started all thought the Sabres could be a playoff team. Maybe they are. Who the hell knows? All right, that's going too far. Anyway, let's just enjoy and savor this victory. I'm going to take a quick break, come back, and we're going to spend the back half talking the Buffalo Bills, where things ain't going so good with them. But we'll talk about them and more right after this quick break. On the video side, we'll literally be right back. All right, I want to remind you guys, tomorrow or tonight, depending on when you're listening to this, Thursday night, Cheektowaga Country Club, Matt Perino will be with me live, 8 p.m. Get out there if you can on Genesee Street. If not, this will be streamed live on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all of the places. So make sure you go and check that out. All right, PK, let's switch gears here. The Buffalo Bills have dropped 2 in a row. It's been frustrating because they have not really looked good for the most part this year. They've beaten 3 really bad teams. They played 2 decent teams and just have not played well. I guess how you want to react is how you want to react. Everybody's entitled to react the way that they want to. I've noticed a ton of gloomy, doom and gloom type of behavior on social media, which is weird because if Nate Gary's not the biggest overreactor on social media, I am. It's one of us too. Me and Nate are neck and neck. And if I'm telling you that the sky's not falling, I kind of feel like you should believe that the sky's not really falling. This is the fourth time in 5 years this team has done this, at being at 4-2 right now. So it's nothing new to them. They've struggled before. They got their asses whooped last year. Josh Allen went 9 for 30 in Houston at one point. They got beat up by Baltimore. I know, every season's a little bit different. Before we talk about a couple of specific things, I guess I want to ask what your temperature is right now with this team. Maybe I should be a little more concerned because there's certainly reasons for concern. There's Joe Marino, a guy who I respect a ton, said the Bills are on fraud alert right now, and that definitely has resonated with me. So I'm not blowing them off by any means, their struggles. But where's your temperature at right now with the Buffalo Bills?
So I still fully expect them to win the division. I think you can kiss the number 1 seed goodbye. I think, to me, where they stand right now, and I'm trying not to overreact because we've been talking about this on our show for 6 straight weeks, that we see issues with this team, and it's just everything's adding up to what it is now. So I'm not going to overreact and say the sky's falling, they're not going to make the playoffs, they're going to lose the division. I still think they're the favorite to win the division. I think as long as Josh Allen is healthy behind center, the division's theirs. I fully believe that by the end of the season, they're going to be a game or two ahead of the New England Patriots in the division. As far as everything else, yeah, I'm concerned with this team considering what it has looked like. It's not just a 1 or 2 game sample. This has been going on. They've had like one good half of football so far, and that was the second half versus Baltimore, at least for the offensive side of the ball. I am just worried that there's not enough things that Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott can do because there's just so many holes in the ship right now. It's not just like where it was last year where, we got to go out and get Amari Cooper, or the year before that, go get Rashield or Douglas to help the cornerback room. You need help in the safety room. The cornerbacks is decimated right now. The linebacker core is decimated. Your wide receivers can't get open, and now you just lost Josh Palmer. And for some reason, you're not using James Cook. There's just so many pieces right now. I'm not trying to overreact again. I still fully expect them to win the division and make the playoffs, but there's so many things that are concerning with this team that, to me, there wasn't that many levels of concern in prior years. Yeah, they lost 2 in a row. They lost 2 in a row, 4 to 5 years, like you mentioned. It just seems, it feels different than past years to me.
Let me say this, the good and the bad, and let me start with the good. I think when it's all said and done at the end of the season, it would not surprise me if the Bills, you said you don't think the number 1 seed's in play. I disagree with that. I think the number 1 seed is still completely in play. I don't think there's a team in this conference right now that is head and shoulders above anyone else. And that includes the Buffalo Bills, of course, as well. Kansas City, it looks like they're getting their act together. They've got don't they have 3 losses already?
Yep, 3-3. Yep.
Baltimore's dead. I still don't fully believe in the Chargers. Plus, they're playing in a tough division. They got some tough games. I don't believe in Pittsburgh. Maybe they'll prove me wrong. I don't believe in the Colts. Maybe I should believe in the Colts because they're playing some really good football. And New England is, New England's going to be a factor right now. I mean, if you figure the Bills get 12-2, if they finish 12-5, they got to beat New England though. Like, you know what I mean? One of those 12 wins has to be in Foxborough. I still think the Bills are in good shape. So I would look at it from a crystal ball or the glass half full in that way. I still think the Bills' season is far from over. I think offensively, the issues that they have for the most part are fixable. Because I agree, and by the way, you're right about the wide receivers. I mean, holy shit. You don't need to be an all-22 film buff, to know that receivers ain't getting open. To me, though, it's if Joe Brady makes the adjustments that need to be made, if you find the ways to beat the blitz, you've used James Cook the right way, and God, if you stop treating him like a platoon player, on the sidelines. Ty Johnson, why did you re-sign Ty Johnson? He's supposed to be a weapon in the passing game. He goes in motion to identify who's blitzing. That's been the Ty Johnson's contribution this year, it feels like, on offense. But anyway, starting to get those guys out of the backfield more, using the tight ends more, quick slants with Khalil Shakir. Samuel, if he could ever stay healthy, I believe in the offense enough. Okay, I still think the offensive line is elite. And by the way, I still think Josh Allen's an MVP quarterback. He's playing like shit the last couple weeks, quite frankly. And I didn't really like his body language on the bench during this game. I think he's really annoyed and upset right now, probably feeling like a couple of years ago where it didn't seem like he was getting much help. So, but again, this bye's coming at the right time. So I still believe in this team. What I don't like about this team, though, is anything you want to throw in terms of criticism, I don't think you're wrong about any of it right now. I think the secondary stinks, and we're going to talk about that in a second. I think the receivers can't get open. I think Brandon Beane does not get the heat that he deserves right now for some of the draft woes that he has done early in the draft. This is a team right now that could desperately use a good Cole Bishop safety, a good Keon Coleman wide receiver play, and they're not getting that. They got a guy in third-round pick, Landon Jackson, who's not even a factor whatsoever. I can't put the Max Searson injury on the GM. There's no way of knowing that, and it's not like Max had this long injury history. But underachieving there, being thin at other positions, the cap situation, some of the contracts, the extensions that have been given, a lot of this falls on the GM. A lot of this is on the head coach. I don't think the team's been ready. The coordinating has been really bad, especially in Atlanta. So any direction or avenue that you want to come at me with where you say this team is flawed, I don't think you're wrong. That's why I can get the whole Joe Marino has his team on fraud alert right now. But what I want to talk to you specifically about is Keon Coleman, because I'm concerned about this guy, and I don't think it's a situation that's going to go away. He has 112 yards, PK, against Baltimore, week 1. He's had 125 yards the last 5 weeks combined. He's already had 4 games this year where he's had 26 receiving yards or less, under 58% catch rate, both of his last 2 games. So am I right when I say this? I think Keon Coleman right now is a guy who's going to look great 3 to 4 times a year. I think he's a guy who's going to look like a pretty good contributor 3 to 4 times a year. And I think he's a guy who's going to pretty much give you nothing half of the games. That's kind of what we're at with Keon. What do you see from him that makes you think it's going to change? And that's not to mention being late for meetings or whatever it is that's getting him out of favor with the coach and some of the staff.
Yeah, what's more frustrating is everybody tried to anoint him quicker than they needed to, because going into the draft process, they all said this was the type of wide receiver he is. Part of the reason, to me, and I'm not putting it fully on Keon Coleman, I'm not trying to apologize for what he has put on the field, but some of the play designs for him, it's like a 50-50 ball. And every single time, I think they've said it on the broadcast multiple times, they're going to be hand checking the entire time. So to try to get him to draw any of those type of penalties, he's got his hands all over the defender. The defender's got his hands all over. They need to design better plays for him, whether he's earning it or not. He's on the field tons of time. I think he said he was on the field for like 47 to 53 drives or something like that. He was on the field the whole time versus Atlanta, and they just couldn't get him the ball. I'm going to put part of the blame on Joe Brady for not designing any slants to him. It's just like 50-50 balls nonstop, or the fades down the field nonstop. He's come up with like one of them the whole time. And yes, it was a big catch on third down, but he hasn't really, they haven't really done anything to help him, and he hasn't done anything to help them. It's like a bad marriage right now between the two. I just don't think he seems like he's a depth role wide receiver that can come in the clutch in, red zone threats. He doesn't seem like a type of player that can be out there 90% of the drives, because he's not really going to add anything to it. It's just, unless you're going to design different plays for him, I just think he's just taking up a spot on the starters for one of the 11 out there. It's just, it seems like it's a bad marriage right now between the two.
Joe from Queens on the live show right after the game on Monday night called him Kelvin Benjamin. And normally I'd be like, that is a really stupid take. But is it really a stupid take right now? I mean, stylistically, statistically, I look at it and I'm like, I don't really think right now that's a stupid take. And going back to Brandon Bean a little bit, and listen, I know there's 31 other teams just like the Bills who you could go and look at a lot of players and be like, well, if we took this guy instead of this guy, this and that, and all the hindsight and the next morning armchair quarterbacks, I understand all that. But in this case, this was a philosophical, concerted decision by Brandon Bean and whoever's involved in the how you want to stylistically make this football team to get these bigger, more physical receivers, as opposed to the receivers like Stephon Diggs and Cole Beasley and John Brown, who were quicker separators. I got open early in routes. Emmanuel Sanders, that Josh Allen historically had a lot of success with. Historically, Josh Allen has struggled when he would throw to like Gabe Davis a lot. You know what I mean? Big plays with Gabe Davis, but a lot of bad forced throws to Gabe Davis. It was kind of like where Josh struggled a little bit. So the Bills stylistically made that decision. And I cannot help but go back to last year's draft and say, well, who got drafted quite literally one pick after Keon Coleman? One pick. Forget about Xavier Worthy. That's over and done with. You didn't want him. Okay, you traded down, but you made that pick at 32. Who was the next pick? I'll tell you, it was Lamb McConkey. Can you imagine this offense right now? You're worried about somebody getting open and catching the ball and separation. Lamb McConkey should have been the pick. And I'm not saying that a year and a half later. I would have said that last April. If people care enough to go back and listen to post-draft podcasts on Talking Muffle from last year, pretty sure you'll find that. I did not like the Keon Coleman pick then, and I don't like it now. And it's not to say he won't have big moments. Again, he was big against Baltimore. It's just not a good fit. And I think Keon's starting to hear the noise a little bit. I think he's starting to get a little frustrated. Maybe be a little bit behind closed doors, maybe a little bit on social media. He had a tweet and he immediately deleted it Wednesday about say less or something, and then he just deleted it right away. But again, I look at that, and I look at Cole Bishop just not working out right now. And I look at Landon Jackson, who I just still will never understand why they took him after all the investments in his defensive line when they needed safeties or linebackers or another receiver or whatever. It's just, I don't know, man, but I just don't think Keon Coleman is going to be the answer. Do you think that they trade for a wide receiver? I know it's easy to say that, and the rumors are going crazy, but if you and I are talking the day after the deadline, have the Buffalo Bills made a trade for a wide receiver? Do you think it happens?
I think if there's a position that they're going to trade for, I do think it's going to be wide receiver. I just don't think it's going to be safety because Sean McDermott craves that position. He's got to trust the player to put him out there. And I just don't see them bringing in a safety mid-season and having him catch up to this scheme. And to me, as much as they do need a safety back there, I think they need to put out Jordan Hancock or Jordan Poyer and just see what you got over wrap because it's not there. If there is one position that they can put some type of Band-Aid on, I do think it's going to be wide receiver. You have Chris Olave, you have Rashid Shaheed, you have a number of players. I even saw Jalen Waddle's name mentioned multiple times that I think the Giants were calling about him. There's wide receiver names floating out there. It's just with where the cap is right now, how feasible is it? And I know there's people that know the cap much better than I do, and there's probably ways to finagle it, but it goes back to, and we've said it on our podcast multiple times now, I went on record and apologized to Sean McDermott because I put way too much, he deserves the blame, but I put way too much blame on Sean McDermott when I was ignoring too many issues that Brandon Bean caused. And to me, looking back on, yes, you can, like you mentioned, Monday morning quarterback, but there's just been too many things and too many flaws that he's put this team together. Going on WGR and flat out complaining that the wide receiver room is good enough. 6 games in though, like, there's egg on your face. So if there is one position that I think he can somehow put a Band-Aid on, and hopefully Dalton Kincaid is fully healthy coming back, because I loved his game versus New England. I thought that was his coming out party, and I was excited to see him in the Atlanta game, especially with the blitz. I thought he would have been critical to their offense fair in this game, and I think he was drastically missed if he can take that next step and be what he was in New England. But if they can add some type of wide receiver, I will feel much better about them being able to adjust and fix this offense than I currently do sitting here right now going into the bye.
Before I answer the question that I just asked you, I do want to point up one comment to us. Savannah Shy, he's a regular. I see him on Twitter all the time, too. He has a good point. Coleman should be a big slot. The problem is, okay, Khalil Shakir is not really an outside boundary receiver then. You're giving Khalil Shakir $16 million, and you're going to put
and they're
Coleman
not
in
even
the
using him right.
Exactly. So he's not wrong. It's just, again, it comes down to personnel on this team that why that doesn't work. I will say this. If you give me Dalton Kincaid, Curtis Samuel, and Josh Palmer, all three of those guys faster, well, the two receivers are quick enough. They're pretty good at separating at different levels of the football field, and we know what Dalton Kincaid can do. I think when those three guys are right, you got enough guys who can get open. You got enough guys who could catch the ball, guys who could separate and make the offense better. But you go back to the Atlanta game, and you got Dalton Kincaid, who's been really good. But I don't want to say he's quite injury prone yet, but he's missed time multiple times already in his career right now. Do I need to tell you about Curtis Samuel? It sucks too, because I'm telling you, everyone shits on Curtis Samuel. He is a good football player when he's healthy.
I was excited about him this year.
I went and I watched that all 22 from what was the game that they just lost, the New England game? And Josh Allen missed him a few times. There were plays for Curtis Samuel out there, and it wasn't on him. It was on Josh Allen. So I was excited about him. But then he got either hurt in that game or practice, whatever, and he misses another game. And then Josh Palmer, who had a great start in that game this past Monday, he's got an ankle issue now. He's week to week. So you do need to make a trade. Tyrell Shavers was a great summer story, and I like him. Cut him. He's a practice squad guy. If you got to bring him up, bring him up. Nobody's claiming him, and if they do, you do. Elijah Moore is just not giving me nothing. I don't need him in my life. You know what I mean? I don't hate him, but I don't need him in my life. There's room right now to go get a wide receiver. Do they get one is the question. That's where I tend to say no, in part because of what you just said a few minutes ago. I don't care what anyone says, and people might take this the wrong way, but I think Brandon Beane's got an ego problem. And if you go get a Chris Olave, and I hope I'm wrong, I hope I'm eating my words, and clip this if I'm wrong. I'll gladly eat my words. But if you got a chance to go get a Jacoby Myers or a Chris Olave or something like that, you find a way to make it work because you need it. You need it. You cannot waste seasons of Josh Allen, but Brandon Beane knows that going to get a receiver makes him look silly. A lot of his comments, the defensive nature with the radio station and shit like that this summer, not to mention it makes the second round investment in Keon Coleman not look good. The money that you gave to Khalil Shakir not look good. The contract that you gave to Curtis Samuel not look good. The contract that you gave to Josh Palmer not look good, which are significant contracts, by the way. Giving Elijah Moore some money. He goes and he has to go get a big-time receiver or any, even significant receiver. I feel like that's a bad look to Brandon Beane, and I don't know if he's willing to wear that, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, 100%. I do agree with the ego aspect of it. I didn't think that was his type of mantra until this offseason, where he came off so defensive on the radio station. That's kind of where it kind of opened the door of looking back, like you mentioned, Monday Morning Quarterback, looking back at all prior comments and all that kind of stuff. It does seem like, but I've been saying it for years now. You're wasting Josh Allen in this regime right now, where if you're not willing to go look bad to get him the talent that he needs, like, not to be mean, but you're useless to me right now. Like, Josh Allen's 30 years old. Like, how many more years of primetime MVP type of Josh Allen do you have? Get him the talent he needs to get this team to the Super Bowl. Like, if that's your end goal, to win the Super Bowl, who cares what you look like at the end of the day? Suck up your ego and go get Chris Olave, go get Jacoby Myers, go get somebody that can get open for this offense. And then Joe Brady can somehow figure out to get these guys open on offense. If you get a guy that can get open, it helps everybody else on the offense, because then they don't have to just be like Atlanta, where it's like, okay, we're just going to blitz you on every single one because we know you guys can't get open. Suck up the ego. Go get somebody to help this wide receiver room.
Agree with you. I still don't see it. I think what I just explained about Beane is a big part, but and then I also think that the fact that they still have confidence in that room, and to be fair, they should figure it out. I mean, last year it's the same group basically, right? They actually added Josh Palmer. Besides that, it's pretty much essentially the same group that they had last year. And this was a team that just kept scoring 30 points week after week after week after week. Even in the playoffs, they put up points. It was the defense that let them down ultimately why they didn't get to the Super Bowl. Not that the offense was blame-free, but it's a good offense with an MVP quarterback, and they didn't turn the ball over and all this other stuff. I think they're going to convince themselves over this bye that, hey, if we get Dalton back and if Samuel's back and Palmer's all right, that we're going to be fine. That's where I think they're going to land. Plus, this is a team that's obsessed with sinking every resource in the world in the defense. So that's kind of the other thing I wanted to hit you with before we get out of here. I still believe in the offense. Do I want them to add a receiver? Yes. Do I think they will? No. But I believe in the offense. I think the defensive line is going to be fine too. Got a couple of reinforcements coming in. They're not game wreckers, but Hoyt and Ogunjobi are players. Deion Walker has been a revelation right now.
Great.
Ed Oliver's back, and he's been really good. Greg Rizzo's starting to put it together. He had a really shitty start, but he's starting to ball. Epinesa is fine. Joey Bosa's giving you a little here and there. I'd like to see a little more from a guy making $13 million, but that's neither here nor there. They'll be all right. Linebackers is what it is. Ain't nothing you're going to do about it. You got Bernard, you got Milano. Cross your fingers. Whatever ritual you believe in, rain dances, whatever, you got to hope that they can stay healthy. I do like Shaq Thompson behind, although he dropped that pick 6 and it pisses me off. Dorian Williams, you could do worse than as a backup. So it's not like they got scrubs, behind them. To me, PK, this is the area of the team that concerns me. This is the area of the team where if they fall short, I think it's going to land on more than anywhere else, and that's the secondary. I think the secondary is just overrated and not good. Christian Benford is an above average to very good corner. That's what I would classify him as. He's somewhere between above average and very good. I don't think he's elite, and I definitely think he's better than just average. He's not been nowhere near as good this year as he was the last 2 years, but I still believe in him. He's not the problem in this secondary. Teron Johnson, I would guess at this point, I'll call him decent, but he is slowly but surely regressing. Like, when's the last time you've seen a Teron Johnson game? We used to get Teron Johnson games, let alone plays. Not really seeing that. He's decent. That's it. Trey White is a disaster. The safeties are garbage as starters. Both of them. Both of them. Taylor Rapp, Cole Bishop. Taylor Rapp's just not athletic enough, and he's just making too many dumb mistakes. Cole Bishop has more athleticism. It's not there. It's not there. Those two guys should not be out there together. I don't think the Bills do anything at safety. Jordan Poyer maybe eventually starts for Bishop, but man, you want to talk about unathletic tandem? Taylor Rapp and Jordan Bishop. I love Jordan Hancock. I'm sick of talking about him because I know Sean McDermott's not going to play him unless he has to, and I think that's a mistake. But the corner, you got to go get a corner because I think Dorian Strong, I'd be surprised if he plays this year. Max Hairston maybe opens up the practice window. Sean McDermott keeps talking about tempering expectations. I don't know that you could count on him this year, a rookie who's been out since July. Trey White is just not it. You got to go out. If you're going to make one trade, I want multiple trades. But if you're going to you got to get a corner. You got to get a corner, and you got to figure out a way to do something with that safety room because the safeties and Trey White are going to be the reason why the Bills lose to the Chargers, the Broncos, the Chiefs, insert 7 or 8 teams in there. They're going to lose in January because the secondary is just awful right now.
Yeah, I do think that based on everything you do say, I do agree with you. As much as I do want a wide receiver, I can see your point where the ego is going to get in the way. Cornerback to me seems like an easier trade to pull off to bring in a guy. I do agree with the Max Harrison thing to temper your expectations. He had 4 non-padded practices. I think people keep forgetting that. He wasn't even in padded practices when he got hurt.
I was there. I was
to see him come out there and just steal some limelight from Trey White, even as bad as Trey White has been, I think that's way in the distant future. Like I don't think you can pencil him in to expect anything from him this season. So I do agree. I think cornerback's going to be the position that you can kind of find a way where they can get a deal done for a cornerback because they've done it in the past. I can see them doing it again. To me, it just comes down to I don't think to me personally, I don't think adding anything on defense right now is really going to fix this until you fix that offense. If the offense isn't putting up 30 points, I don't think adding a quarterback to this is really going to do much. I really think they're going to have to try to outscore teams. And that's why I'm so pushing the wide receiver narrative right now, because if they can get another wide receiver that can get open, I worry less about what this defense can do, because the defense got the stops they needed to versus Atlanta, and the offense just put up a nothing burger for them. I do agree. I think that if there is a trade, it's probably going to be cornerback. As much as I want wide receiver, I just don't think that that's going to push the needle one way or the other. I think they got to fix that offense. I do agree. I can see them doing it. It's just I haven't seen it yet this year, so it's hard for me to fully believe that. Yeah, one bye week is going to completely fix this mess of an offense they have.
Yeah, and that's fair. I feel like you're on team Joe from Queens in the weekly Pat versus Joe, offense versus defense, what they're going to do or what they should do argument. I'll tell you this, of all the injuries this year, besides the Max Harrison injury, obviously, of the injuries this year that have kind of low-key really hurt the Bills or that are unfortunate, it's unfortunate that Dorian Strong got hurt.
Yeah.
Because 100%. I'm going to tell you right now, we may or may not be having a cornerback starting conversation, but what I could tell you is Dorian Strong would be starting over Trey White at this point. It was coming. It was coming in the Saints game. He was he was playing every other series in the second half. Sean was bullshitting everybody, saying that, I want my young guy to just get some reps. It was the plan before the game. No, one, Trey White was playing terrible, and Dorian Strong was getting out there. And again, unfortunately, he got hurt, because if he doesn't, he starts. And he was at camp, and he was at the preseason, and he started against Baltimore. So that's a rookie you can transition into the starting lineup, whereas Hairston is a guy that I just don't think is going to happen at the end of the season. And I will say one other thing, too. There were a lot of people before this Atlanta game that were saying, oh, Trey White's so bad. How much worse could Jamarcus Ingram be? Go watch the film. He was a lot worse. Jamarcus Ingram was a unmitigated disaster when he was on the field Monday in Atlanta. And that's coming from somebody in myself I love Jamarcus Ingram. He's got a role on this team. It's just on special teams and dime rolls. He is not a boundary cornerback. He's just not. So, and then the linebackers. I just think you're stuck. You're married to them this year. Terrell Bernard, your captain. Matt Milano, he's gone after this year. He's as good as gone. But that's the other thing that worries me, too. Can those guys make plays? Milano obviously didn't play in this game, but they're missing gaps. They're not really looking good in run defense. It's like they'll get a turn. Like Terrell Bernard either gets you a takeaway or he gets beat on a run or against the pass. It's just it's frustrating. But so you're more about the offense, and I think I'm more about the defense. Not that I want you to be right, though. Like, I want the Bills to address offense more than I do defense. But I think defense is if they address anything, it's going to be defense. Last question, I'm going to let you go. We're running late now. If they don't do anything, and I do think there's a good chance that they don't do anything, how much, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you believe in this team right now?
Josh Allen's still healthy the rest of the season for me. I'll put it at as long as Josh Allen's back there, and hopefully they start using Cook, because first 5 weeks it looked like they were actually using him and paid him right, and then for some reason Atlanta is just like, we don't need you, you're a part-time player again. If they get back to using Cook and Josh Allen is still healthy behind the line, I'll put it like a 6.5 to a 7. It's just it's scaring me right now. It's still scaring me. Again, division is still theirs to me. It's just they're feeling at the moment, based on 6 games into the season, like a one and done type of playoff team right now, and it's not a good look for me right now. I don't like saying it. That's
fair. Let me see. I want to do this. I'm doing this in real time as you're talking, because I think what you represent right now has been a lot of what I've seen this week with Bills fans, because and maybe it's just because we heard so much hype. And again, they were 4-0. They were the only undefeated team for like 6 hours before they lost against New England. But then I look nationally right now, and I'm on FanDuel Sportsbook. Super Bowl favorites. Kansas City is now on 6.5 to 1 favorite. Right after that, the Buffalo Bills.
Really? Ahead of Detroit?
They're still, it goes Kansas City, Green Bay, Buffalo, Detroit, Philly, and the Rams. And then I'm going to ESPN's bet, and the Bills are tied for first with Kansas City right now. So the nation, the gambling nation still thinks the Bills are a Super Bowl caliber team. Now that doesn't really.
They must not believe in the AFC. That's got to be it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The reason why my confidence level is a little bit higher than yours is because I think we could go down the line. If this was talking Denver, we could point out issues. Talking Chargers, talking whatever. The Chargers just lost. Who did they lose to? The Giants or some shit like that last week or whatever? So we could just go up and down. Jacksonville beat Kansas City. There's so many reasons or teams. Baltimore might be dead already. You know what I mean? Where we can get it. I feel like you come off the bye. Carolina's going to be a nice test. They're 3-3. They're not a great team by any means, but they're a competitive team. They beat Atlanta 30-0, by the way, not too long ago. But you go in there, you should handle your business. You're coming off a bye. You got 2 weeks to get your shit together. And then you got Kansas City at home. If the Bills come back and they beat Carolina and then they beat Kansas City at home, the train's right back. The train's rolling all over again, and people are going to forget about, all about all this shit. I do want to pull up one comment before we get out of here, because I've thought about this. Ralph Wilson Sr. said, Terrell Bernard needs to be nailed to the bench. Defense much better in the second half without him. I've been thinking about this. Joe from Queens and I were talking too. I think he's right. He should be. And I even went as far to say on my show yesterday with Matt Warren from SB Nation, if it was me, I would consider Shaq Thompson and Milano starting over Bernard. That said, and Joe said this, so I got to give him credit. I can't take it. If Terrell Bernard got benched, that would be a declaration of war, Sean McDermott to Brandon Beane. Brandon Beane gives this guy an extension, that contract. He's a captain. And Sean McDermott benches a healthy Terrell Bernard. That would be, you want to talk about a reason to have a feud. I was just telling you about Brandon Beane's ego with receiver. Imagine giving a guy a 4-year extension and him getting benched for 47-year-old Shaq Thompson, halfway through the season, man. That would not play well, I think, in behind the doors at One Bills Drive.
Yeah, he's one of those players that has not lived up to the contract. And going into this season, I was very excited for him. I had a bold prediction he was going to be an All-Pro, and that went up in flames 6 games in.
Yeah, but you know what's wild?
Yeah.
He has that interception against 2 in the Miami game. Maybe the Bills lose that game if he doesn't make that play. Look at the AFC. The Bills don't beat Baltimore last year without Terrell Bernard. That's the thing about him. He makes those timely, game-changing, impactful plays, which I suppose is why you got to live with the week-to-week bullshit. Well, he missed the A-gap. They had leverage the wrong way. He blew this tackle. He looks shitty in coverage. He's one of those guys where you really, he really is boomer. He's boomer bust. He is the definition of a boomer bust type player. So we'll see how it plays out. But anyway, all right, that's going to do it for this show. Late night on the video side here on Wednesday. Make sure you follow PK on social media at PK_BSC and check out the Buffalo Sports Collective. PK and Phil do an awesome job. Bills, Sabres, and especially the Buffalo Bandits, who will they'll be playing before we know it here. 3-time defending champ. Buffalo, I know that excites you too, man.
No, but, fingers crossed they still got to work on a CBA.
Yeah, that's true as well. Well, hopefully you'll have some Bandits coverage. But, as always, buddy, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for doing the pod with me.
No problem. Going to bed.
Go to bed. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I'll talk to you. Brand new show. Matt Perino joins me tomorrow.